Everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Teresa Daly, and I am one of the Associate Directors over at Hofstra University. And today I'm going to be talking about the 2026-2027 FAFSA filing process. So let's get started. The topics I will be going over today are financial aid programs, how and when to apply, filing the FAFSA, and helpful frequently asked questions, tips, and resources. I always like to start with going over what is financial aid. This is a term we hear all the time, but what does it exactly mean? We like to break it down into three different categories. Those categories are federal work study, grants and scholarships, also known as gift aid, and loan options. I like to start with federal work study. Federal work study's eligibility is determined through filing the FAFSA application. Most jobs are worked on campus and are based on the student's schedule. Students will earn these wages. You will not see the funds applied to a student's billing account as they are paid in the form of a paycheck. Federal work study can be coded as part-time jobs or undergraduate assistantships. And this opportunity, students can earn more than just a degree. There's valuable networking opportunities, and it's a great way for students to meet other faculty members and peers on campus and to build their resume. Next, we have gift aid. I break gift aid out into two different categories. There are scholarships, and then there's also grants. Gift aid does not require any type of repayment after college. Scholarships can be awarded either through the institution or through outside organizations. Institutional scholarships are typically based on merit, whereas outside scholarships are typically based on hobbies or activities that students may excel at. Grants can also be awarded at the institutional level, and there are also some federal and state grants available as well. The Federal Pell and the Federal Supplemental Opportunity Grant, or SEOG, are awarded through filing the FAFSA, and they are based on need. If you're a New York State resident, after you file the FAFSA application, you can also file the New York State Tuition Assistance Program, or TAP application. If you're a New York State resident and your student is looking to apply to either private or state universities, they can utilize the New York State Tuition Assistance Program. Here are some outside scholarship resources that students can utilize when looking for outside scholarships. There's finaid.org, fastweb.com, and scholarships.com. Students can typically begin applying for these during their senior year of high school. The next category is loan options. The below rates are based on the current 2025-2026 year, and the 2026-2027 loan rates will be available on July 1st, 2026. So for federal educational loans, students that file the FAFSA can be eligible for their federal Stafford loans. These can also be referred to as the subsidized and unsubsidized loans. The main difference between the two: the subsidized loan does not accrue any interest while students are in school, whereas the unsubsidized loan does begin to accrue interest. However, neither loans need to be repaid until 6 months after graduation. These loans would be in the student's name, and you would need to have the FAFSA on file in order to be eligible. Parents also have the opportunity to apply for a federal loan as well, called the Federal Parent Plus Loan. This loan is in the parent's name, it is not in the student's name, and it does require a separate application in addition to the FAFSA. This loan currently has an 8.94% interest rate, and there is an origination fee. Please note that this is an annual application. It does have similar repayment options to the unsubsidized loan, where the loan does accrue interest while students are in school. However, repayment you can defer until after the student graduates. You can make prepayments on these loans, and there are no penalties. Students and families also have the option to apply for alternative or personal student loans, but please be advised there are variable terms and rates, as well as home equity loans. Here I have the financial aid timeline for the upcoming 2026-2027 academic year. September through December of the senior year in high school, the student and at least one parent in the household would apply for their FSA ID. They can go ahead and do this at studentaid.gov/FSAID. Then, as of October 1st, students and families can begin applying for the free application for federal student aid, or also known as the FAFSA application. This can be applied for at studentaid.gov. New York State residents can also apply for the Tuition Assistance Program, or TAP application, as of October 1st as well. Please note that the FAFSA does need to be processed first before you can go ahead and apply for any state aid applications. Another application that is available is called the College Scholarship Service, or CSS Profile. This will be available as of October 1st, but please note this application is not required by every institution. For example, Hofstra University does not require the CSS Profile, but we do accept the FAFSA application and the New York State TAP application. We also encourage students to start applying for outside scholarships during this time. January through March of a student's senior year in high school, it is recommended that your FAFSA is filed before February 1st. Colleges and universities are going to begin sending out financial aid award packages, and FAFSA filing deadlines and timing of the awards can vary between schools. You may need to complete verification, if required, and provide other requested forms, such as proof of citizenship or high school diploma. April through May is when you begin paying your tuition and housing deposits and accept or decline any financial aid by the national candidate reply date of May 1st. After May 1st is when you start completing any loan applications or payment arrangements. So, FAFSA tips. What are some common mistakes students and families may make when completing the application? The first is not asking for help. Please make sure to call the number on the screen, utilize the FAFSA online chat or self-service buttons throughout the application. Make sure you're filing the correct FAFSA for the correct aid year. When October 1st comes around, there will actually be two applications available: the 2025-2026 application for current students attending college, and the 2026-2027 application for those that are looking to start in the fall of 2026. So please make sure you're filling out the correct application. Make sure you're not using any nicknames. Use the name as spelled on Social Security cards. Use the correct Social Security numbers and dates of birth. Make sure you're not listing any parent information under the student's profile. Make sure both student and parent signatures go through. If your address has changed from submitting your admissions application to completing your FAFSA, please make sure that the addresses match and update your admissions application with your correct address. And create the FSA ID for the student and one parent in the household early, as it can take a couple of business days to verify the information. So who is eligible for federal aid? U.S. citizens and eligible non-citizens, such as permanent residents, are eligible to file the FAFSA and receive federal aid. Students must have a valid Social Security number. If a parent does not have a valid Social Security number, you can enter zeros on the FAFSA or select the option that they do not have one. Deferred Action or DACA students are not eligible to file a FAFSA and are not eligible for federal financial aid. So why should you file the FAFSA? It's free. It determines eligibility for federal grants, loans, and work study. Some states, including New York, require it as the first part of an application process for financial aid from that state. And some colleges and private organizations require it for consideration of scholarships and grants. A big change that happened about 2 years ago is adding a contributor to the FAFSA. This is very important. For dependent students, a parent would be considered a contributor. Dependent students are considered students that are under 24 years of age. The contributor will get a link to their FSA ID with an invite to complete their portion of the FAFSA application once the student has completed theirs. Contributor consent is very important. Every contributor must provide consent and approval for students to be eligible for federal aid programs. Consent and approval will also allow the automatic process of the data exchange tool from the IRS directly to the FAFSA. This is required for students to receive any federal grant aid eligibility. So, who is considered a parent contributor? I have a couple of scenarios listed here so you can see what parents' information is considered. If parents were never married, the parent who provided more financial support during the last 12 months would be the one to put their information. If equal support is provided, you would provide the information with the parent with the greater income and assets. If parents are unmarried and both legal parents live together, both legal parents' information would need to be included on the FAFSA. If parents are married and filed their taxes married filing jointly, both parents would need to have their information there, and only one parent in the household would be required to make an FSA ID. If parents are remarried, it would be the parent and step-parents' information. If parents are divorced or separated, the parent who provided more financial support during the last 12 months. If equal amount of support is provided, you would provide the information for the parent with the greater income and assets. If the parent is widowed, it would be the information of the surviving parent. So how do you input parent information? The invite to the FAFSA is very easy for parents this year. All the students will need to do is input the parent's email address, and the parent will get an invitation to complete their portion of the FAFSA. This is a simplified change that will really make completing the FAFSA much easier. When students log in to complete their FAFSA with their FSA ID, they'll confirm all of their demographic information, such as name, date of birth, social security number, and address. And then they will be asked to do their student financials. Students will need to input the below information based on the year 2024. The FAFSA is always based off of prior tax year information. Please note, no areas can be left blank on the FAFSA. If there is no value or if it does not apply, a 0 should be entered. Students will be asked to put information for IRA rollovers, pension rollovers into an IRA, amount of college grant scholarships, AmeriCorps benefits reported to the IRS's income, or foreign earned income exclusions. Again, if it does not apply, you would simply put a 0 and then move to the next section. Students will also be able to use the data exchange tool. So if they did work, they'll be able to have that data transferred right from the IRS directly to the FAFSA. It will also ask for students' asset information. This will be the current total of cash checking savings, current net worth of investments, including real estate other than the home in which they live in, and current net worth of businesses and investment farms. Please note these are all accounts that students would be considered the owner of. You would put whatever value that is into each of the boxes and then continue. If some of the values do not apply, they would simply put a 0 and then move on to the next section. A question we always get are how are 529 plans reported on the FAFSA? 529 plans are reported under the owner as an investment. It is not reported under the beneficiary. If the parent is the owner, it is reported under the parent investment question. Only plans designated to the student will need to be reported on the FAFSA. A big change that we're all in favor of is now when you put your college choices on the FAFSA, you can select up to 20 schools at a time. It used to only be 10. So now with the 20 schools at a time, this really limits the amount of applications that students and families need to submit. Students can select the school search by school name or search by school code and list up to 20 schools that they're looking to apply to and add them to their FAFSA. Once that's been completed and the student agrees and confirms that their information is correct, the contributor will receive their invitation to complete the FAFSA. It'll look similar to this. Your student needs help on their FAFSA form, and they've identified you as a parent or contributor. Parents are required to provide their financial and demographic information on the student's FAFSA form. This does not make you financially responsible for any educational costs or federal student loans they decide to accept. By accepting this invitation, you're agreeing to share your personal contact information with studentaid.gov on the FAFSA and on the student's FAFSA. Once you accept, your information will be linked to this form. So parents will then confirm their general information, such as date of birth, address, and phone number. Parents will then be asked to approve their consent of sharing their 2024 tax information through the data exchange tool. If consent is not given, students will only be eligible for the direct unsubsidized loan. Parents will also have to supply information for any federal programs they may have received benefits from, like Social Security, SNAP, WIC, or Medicaid, confirming their family size from 2024 taxes, the number of family members in college, not including parents, asset information such as IRA pension, rollover, child support, cash checking savings, and business investment worth. After all of this information is submitted, parents will then be able to confirm that it is correct, and the FAFSA will be sent off for processing. A question that we get often is, since the FAFSA is based off of 2024 information, what happens if that's no longer an accurate reflection of what your current financial situation looks like? If this is the case, you would still need to provide the information that the FAFSA is asking for. But if you've experienced a significant change in income since the year of 2024, after the FAFSA is sent in and you receive your financial aid notification, you can speak to the schools that you've been accepted to, and typically they do have a process in place for this called professional judgment. You can contact the financial services office and they'll be able to let you know what information is needed. Please note that you still need to provide the information for which the FAFSA is asking for, but we can always review and see if there will be any changes. Here I have some helpful links for financial aid resources. I have our website, hofstra.edu/SFS, which has really great information, such as presentations that we have recorded like this one that you can view at any time. For federal aid information, you can go to studentaid.gov. For New York State information, you can go to hesc.ny.gov. And for any general information, you can go to finaid.org. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you were able to get some great information and that this helps you file your FAFSA process. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to contact our office, as we're always happy to help. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.